Teaching your child to read shouldn't be and doesn't have to be overwhelming. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact first steps I took to teach my 4-year-old son how to read at home. Hi, my name is Neffy. I'm a homeschool mom of 2 and a former teacher of 15 years. And I'm going to walk you through a simple approach to reading that I use in my homeschool. So first things first, I developed a solid foundation for reading success by doing the following things. Number 1 is actually going to be teaching my son the letter sounds instead of the letter names. Of course, when our kids are toddlers, it's so fun to be able to listen to them sing the ABCs. We teach them this is A, this is B, this is C. And while that's amazing, it's actually a little detrimental to reading skills. So definitely don't feel bad if you're the mom that's teaching your kids the ABCs. What I want to preface is that there is a form of decoding that kids do when they learn how to read, is being able to sound out words, which starts with phonics by knowing the sound to a letter. So the first thing that I did was actually get a letter chart, so an alphabet chart in our homeschool space. A sounds like, B sounds like, C sounds like. And instead of going through it and saying, this is A, this is B, this is C, I normally teach my kids in the beginning that B sounds like, A sounds like, C sounds like. So instead of just them knowing how to identify letters, they're now knowing how to identify the sounds of those letters. So when they start reading, words become easier for them to be able to now decode. Number 2 is going to sound super simple, but it is the best way to go about getting your kids familiar with different words and vocabulary. So this is actually going to be reading books all the time to my kids. So that's one thing that I start out when they're infants, reading to kids all the time on the regular, big books, small books, medium-sized books, books that are extravagant, books that are for kids, books that are not necessarily for kids. And it really does not matter. The kids are going to be able to benefit from hearing different words, different sounds, and also pointing to the words while you read is a good one too. Number 3 is actually going to be getting my kids started with sight words. So this is not something that has to be over dramatic. It's not something that you have to do all the time. And really, it's not about memorization, because memorization doesn't really help anyone when it comes to reading, because then what happens when you get to those words that you haven't memorized? So really doing the sight word cards is just to be able to get my kids familiar with seeing those common words that you see in books that we are reading. So I started my kids out on sight words from the Dollar Tree, like nothing dramatic. Now here are some basic words like boy. So instead of saying, hey, this word is boy, let's memorize boy, it's not that. I would just tell my kids boy, and then I would share a sentence with them. Then I would sound out the different letters in each of the words, and then also be able to, kind of stretch that. So then number 4 is actually going to be word family. So this is a good one. So this is what we're currently using and what I definitely highly recommend. So I'm using the Word Family Build-A-Book box. And so these are just little flip books that have different words on it. So they share the word family, and then you can pretty much go through it this. So for example, this is the word family in, right? So you would tell the child, this is the word family in, and then you guys would practice the sound that when they see in, this is going to be for in. And then they have different words on here that you can go through. So now in doesn't stay in, it becomes skin. And then of course you can show the child the picture. What I like to do with my 4-year-old is actually hide the picture, so he doesn't get used to using the picture to figure out what the word is. He actually has to use his brain. So that's a little challenge that I highly recommend that you do with word family. So they have a bunch of different ones in this box that I got. I will leave the link for this one in the description box below, but as you can see, there's a ton of word families in here. So it comes with 30 in the box. And these aren't all the word families that exist in the entire world, but more so the word families that kids would most commonly see in the books that they read. This Teach Your Child to Read book. So there are so many common books out there that have been on the market for teaching kids to read. This is the one that we're using that I personally recommend. And so this is going to be Teach Your Child to Read in Just 10 Minutes by Sydney Ledson. I am a former teacher of 15 years, and I highly recommend books like these. There are some other popular ones out there on the market, but this one is actually the one that I feel like gives the history on why it is appropriate to introduce reading to kids at early ages instead of later on. Most kids are reading fluently by first and second grade, which is completely normal, and that is a-okay. But this book kind of gives you the history behind schools that have taught kids to read early, why it can be simplified, and why it is appropriate to teach a child to read at an early age. And so I highly recommend this one. So this would be the fourth thing that I've used as my foundation for reading. Pretty much a guide for parents, caregivers, guardians, all that good jazz. I am a homeschool mom, but even if you're not a homeschool mom, your child goes to public school, you can still utilize all the things from this list, if that makes any sense. My son has experienced a really, really great success doing these things. But like I said earlier in this video, it's really all about setting your child up for success with a good reading foundation. So I want to give a quick disclaimer before you click off. Just remember that all kids learn at their own pace, and they'll develop an understanding of different concepts in their own timing. Reading is certainly not a one-size-fits-all pathway, but I do hope that the information and the tools that I shared in this video was helpful to you as your child learns to read and practice. So that about wraps up this video. If you are looking to homeschool in a way that is simple and manageable and doesn't cause burnout, then I invite you to join me on this journey while I homeschool my 2-year-old and 4-year-old as a former teacher. I am looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one.